Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Astro Weather Report. This one is a biggie. We are looking at the final eclipse in this set of eclipses that are occurring at the end of 2022. Basically the full moon eclipse at 16 degrees of Taurus on the 8th of November. So welcome to this discussion. This is going to be a huge video, and if you're interested in learning astrology, you might like to grab a notepad and take some notes because there's going to be so much information here, but I hope this video is beneficial to everyone. Before we start, I do want to also mention that the winner of October's solar return report is Lizzie Meja. Now, I have to spell this because this is obviously not in my native language. So it's Lisemija. I hope I'm saying that right. Lisa or Lizzie Meja, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, please forgive me. So you are the winner of the solar return report for October. And so head over to the website Lisa, and simply jump on the contact form, get in touch with me, let me know, that you've received this message, that you're the winner, and we'll organize and set up for you your solar return report. So exciting. Now, obviously, if you want to win a solar return report for November, all you have to do is like, share, and subscribe to this channel and share this video, and let me know in the comments that you've done that, and then you'll go into the draw to win your own solar return report for November. For those who don't know, a solar return report is a predictive report that looks at the coming year of your life, the next year of your life, based on the positions of the planets at the moment that the sun returns to the position it was in when you were born. So this is such a helpful tool for understanding what's going to unfold for you in the next year of your life. I get a solar return report every year so that I can be forewarned and forearmed about the future for my life and what good things to look forward to, what pitfalls to be aware of. So Lisa, you have this beautiful solar return report coming your way. And if you would like to win, once again, like, share, and subscribe so you can go into the draw for November, everybody else. In this particular video, we're going to be talking about a lot of fascinating information about astrology. We're going to be talking, I'm going to list them for you here. We're going to be talking about the eclipse gateway. This is a very pivotal time frame that we're in currently right now as we're watching this video. We're going to be talking about the nature of lunar eclipses. We're going to be talking about the general influence of full moons in Taurus. We're going to be talking about the chart for this particular eclipse on the 8th of November and all the energies that are playing into this eclipse on the 8th of November. We're going to be talking about the Saros cycle of this eclipse as well. And we're going to be talking about where this eclipse will be visible in the sky and what this actually means. We're going to be talking about what you can do if you have key planets that are in a conjunction or hard aspect with this eclipse, what that means for you personally. We're going to also be doing a ceremony or ritual to create right energy space and work with this Taurus full moon energy for these eclipses. And we're going to be talking, obviously, about the effect of this eclipse on each zodiac sign. Or you can look at your sun, your moon, and your rising sign in the timestamps. Use them there in the description below to go to your sign and find out what's in store for you. Now, my Patreon members, they're going to be getting an extended personal all signs breakdown for this report. Like the last one I did for the eclipse 2 weeks ago, it was a 3-hour video. So you get so much more information for your sign regarding how the eclipse is going to affect you personally in much greater depth than what you'll get here on my YouTube video. So we also have the ceremony that's exclusively, as I mentioned before, it's part of what's going to be given in this video, but it's exclusively available to the Patreon family, not available on YouTube. So if you want to join the Patreon family, the link is in the description below, and you can support the production of future videos by being a Patreon member, and I really appreciate that. And I want to say thank you to all my beautiful Patreons who are there supporting the work of sharing astrology in the world through these videos that I make. Mwah! Bless you. I pray for you every day and give thanks for you every day. You really make such a difference to my life. Thank you. But if you want to join the Patreon family, you can join for just a month, or you can join for a year, or you can join indefinitely. But you're always going to learn so much and be so richly blessed by being a member of our beautiful Guiding Star family. Okay, that said, before we start looking at the effects of this eclipse, you can see that my astro weather wheel is actually looking a little bit different than usual. Let me tell you why. This morning, I happened to read a comment on an Astrolada post. Kudos to Lada, big kisses to her. It was such an insightful post about the future of humanity in the next 20 to 30 years. But there was a comment made on this post that really upset me, saying that, astrologers, all they do is bring scary doom and gloom in order to generate a following for marketing purposes. And this was just so upsetting to me. It's absolutely not the case. Astrologers do not do that. Some people who practice divination mechanisms, other things like, as they did in Babylonian times, looking at entrails, tarot readings, working with runes, working with some astrologers, they do give you only what your itching ears want to hear. That's a term from the Bible. The false prophets who tell you only what they think you want to hear, only the positive. Yes, your boyfriend's going to come back to you. And they tell you that every single month and it never happens, There is a lot of that sort of thing out there. People who tell you only what your itching ears want to hear. But since ancient times, the purpose and role of an astrologer is to tell you what's happening in the skies. Simple as that. It's a science. It's not sort of, what do they want to hear so I can get their money out of them? That is not what's going on here. It's an ancient science, and they're telling you what's happening in the skies for better or worse. You will, if you review all my astrology videos, you'll see some videos are very positive, some videos are a bit more on the negative side, but that is so that you can be forewarned and forearmed for better or worse in order to work with the energies with knowledge and with wisdom. And that's what they did in ancient Babylonian times. There's this effect coming up and going to play out. So what can we do in our communities to prepare for that energy and to mitigate that energy by having consciousness about it? Simple as that. Astrology is never to scare people. It's to empower people. And the truth be told, it all depends on what perspective you have as an individual regarding the information that's been given, as to how it plays out in your life. If I'm telling you something and you think, oh my God, and you just, hide under the covers of your doona, well, then you're not working with the information to your greatest advantage. If I tell you something and you're like, oh my goodness, this is coming up, well, maybe I can work with this knowledge to direct it into this avenue. For example, recently in my Mars retrograde video, I said that, I'm experiencing Mars retrograding in my 4th house. That is the house of home. And that can mean difficulties in the domestic environment when Mars is retrograding in the 4th house. But I have chosen to put that energy of Mars retrograding in the 4th house into doing some strategic work around installing a fireplace, Mars rules fire, in my house for the coming next winter in 2023. So I am using that knowledge. Okay, there's going to be an emphasis on Mars in my 4th house to work with it to my best of advantage, rather than to hide under the covers in fear of, oh my goodness, what's going to happen. Astrology is always designed to empower people, never to scare people. Let's face it, these times are difficult times, and there are astrological reasons for this, why we're going through this upheaval in the world. One of the reasons we're going through this upheaval in the world, and the most big picture perspective on this, is that we are in a transition phase in the big picture of history. We are moving out of something known as the Kali Yuga, and I'm not going to go into a massive explanation for that right now because that's a video in and of itself. This video is going to be big enough as it is. But we're moving out of the Kali Yuga into the Treta Yuga, or the, sorry, not the Treta Yuga, the Dvapara Yuga, I can never pronounce it properly, which is otherwise known as the Bronze Age. So this is not quite lined up. This is an example of these yugas. It's not quite lined up exactly as it should be. The transition phase from the Kali Yuga to the Dvapara Yuga occurs sort of around here, and I've got it listed with this orange line here. So the Kali Yuga, which is the lowest age of consciousness of mankind, kind of runs from sort of midway through Aries to sort of, or the early degrees of Aries through to the latter degrees of Pisces. And this is the lowest age of consciousness of mankind. We have dropped down into a low level of awareness where there's war, where there's abuse, where there's manipulation, where there's control mechanisms, all this yucky stuff that we have seen for the last 2,000, 3,000 years in humanity. But we are on the rise up to the golden age. And this refers to Plato's great year. And we need to keep this in mind always. We are birthing a new era of humanity, and birth pains are never fun. Anyone who's had a baby knows that. So here we are at a transition phase out of the Iron Age or the Kali Yuga, and we are slowly, it takes about 100 to 200 years to transition into the New Age, the Bronze Age, the Dvapara Yuga, and then we keep rising up, and eventually, in about 2,500 years' time, we're going to be moving into the Silver Age, and then into the Golden Age. So humanity is on a process of moving upwards in consciousness and awareness and enlightenment. Never forget this. With all this craziness that's going on in the world right now, we are birthing a new era of humanity. And as I said, birth pains are never fun. But ultimately, rising back into the golden age. So the difficulties we face now actually do serve a purpose for the greater good of humanity. We're letting go and shedding the old way of doing things so that something new can be born that is much better. So when we're going through difficult astrological effects and you hear astrologers saying, oh my goodness, it's going to be heavy, get ready, there's going to be, relationship breakups, or there's going to be some challenging times at work, or you're going to feel heavy in your emotions. Be aware that this is knowledge that you can use. Okay, I'm going to feel heavy in my emotions. Therefore, I might just have a pajama day, and I'll allow myself to go through that difficult energy. I'll buy a block of chocolate. I'll put my favorite movie on Netflix. I'll stay in my pajamas, and I will just move through that energy with knowledge and compassion for my journey. Simple. So, this eclipse is going to be one of those heavy energies. I just have to warn you, this video will be talking about the heavy energies, and I want you to know that it's part and parcel of this general move of humanity into greater consciousness, greater awareness. We're going through a birth pain. So do keep that in mind. And please, remember, astrology is not designed to scare you under the covers of your doona. It's designed to give you knowledge and awareness so you can be empowered. So the first thing I want to talk about is the eclipse gateway. This is a period that we are currently going through, and it is the period between two eclipses. We are currently sitting, as you're watching this video, we are currently sitting between the solar eclipse that occurred in Scorpio and the lunar eclipse that is coming up in Taurus, which is the theme of this particular video, obviously. But this is known as the eclipse gateway, this 2-week period in between. And eclipses always follow cycles, and they generally come in pairs. Sometimes we have an anomaly to that, but generally they come in pairs. These pairs include the lunar eclipse, which is the full moon eclipse we're going to be talking about in a minute, and the solar eclipse, which is the new moon that we had 2 weeks ago. The eclipse gateway is one of the most potent and magical times of the year because the energy of both eclipses are kind of mingling in together, and they're forming this bridge between the state of consciousness we were in prior to the new moon and the state of consciousness we're going to be in after this full moon occurs. we know that eclipses are huge points of growth, awakening, and change. So these moments in this 2-week period between the two eclipses are really a time of transformation and renewal for us in our existence. So exciting. Now, there are two kinds of eclipse gateways. There's the gateway that occurs between a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse, and there's the gateway that occurs between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. We're going to be talking about that one in just a second. But let me just say that depending on the order of the eclipses, the energy can be slightly different and you get different effects. The intensity of the eclipse gateway will also depend on the intensity of the eclipses either side of it. Now, the new moon eclipse that just occurred, the solar eclipse that just occurred 2 weeks ago, getting on to 2 weeks ago now, was one where it was a partial eclipse, but so it wasn't as intense as if it had been a full eclipse, but it was in Scorpio, which is a very intense sign. So we have really been feeling that eclipse. However, this full moon that we're talking about in Taurus is a full eclipse, and therefore it's going to be intense. It is going to be intense. So this eclipse gateway is a very intense eclipse gateway. You've probably noticed that already. So let's look now at the gateway between the solar eclipse, new moon eclipse that occurred on the 24th or 5th of October, depending on where you are in the world, and the lunar eclipse that is coming up on the 8th. That's what this board represents, on the 8th of November. When you are walking the eclipse gateway between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse, the energy is different to the gateway of lunar eclipse to solar eclipse. Please keep that in mind. Where a lunar eclipse, in other words, a full moon eclipse that's coming up, pulls things out of us, solar eclipses draw things into our life and help us to create and direct our life in a totally new way. So when we start with a solar eclipse, we need to begin to put our dreams into action and to start going after what it is we really want in our lives. It's a sign that we need to first get more action-based energy into our life and align our words with our actions. So as we go through this eclipse gateway period, there's often a feeling of support around starting something new during this 2-week period and a sense of being guided as we continue to take the next steps. I've observed this in the life of my family over this 2-week period as I've seen one of my sons embark on a new job and other certain events unfold that are pertaining to my family right now that represent new beginnings occurring in our family. But it's a very high energy time, and it's likely that you will have felt a burst of energy and inspiration following the solar eclipse in October. But as we get closer to this lunar eclipse, the energy begins to shift and we start to develop more awareness around what is blocking us from being able to instigate these new ideas and move forward in our life. So we become more conscious of the blocks to achieving our goals and dreams. So you might have your dreams and your plans all laid out, but the lunar eclipse will alert you if there are things that need to be cleared before you can move forward. So this eclipse is providing us with an awareness now. So when we end on a lunar eclipse, a full moon eclipse, it indicates that the theme of this eclipse gateway will really be all about coming to terms with what needs to go and what needs to stay in order to make your dreams for the life you want a reality. And once we move out of this eclipse gateway, in order to navigate through this in the months ahead, we're going to be required to continually go more inward and reflect so that we can draw out and release all that's blocking us from leading the lives we deserve. So we've gone from a new idea, I want my life to look like this, and then we're realizing, okay, this is what the blockages and the inhibitions to that are, and then we start to, after the eclipse gateway, begin to make changes that are going to enable us to get rid of the blocks going forward. So this is the eclipse gateway period that we're in. You're realizing what your blocks are. You're coming to a state of understanding. Then you're going to be required to take action to make changes. Let's look now at the general nature of full moon or lunar eclipses. Well, they usually trigger an event within a week either side of the eclipse, and that's how they determine things in traditional Western astrology. Okay, so you can look what's happening in the week before, what's happening in the week afterwards, and use that to determine, okay, is this is this event going to really transform my life going forward into the months ahead? That's the traditional Western approach, a week before and a week after. However, according to some really significant research that my teachers have done, there is a method of calculation for the full moon eclipse activation period that actually means we have been in this activation phase for the full moon eclipse, not the solar eclipse that occurred 2 weeks ago, but for this particular, very total full moon eclipse, we've been in the activation phase for this eclipse since the 22nd of October. Okay, so look at your life. What has been unfolding since the 22nd of October? This activation period, according to these calculations, will last until the 22nd of November. So do keep an eye on significant events that unfold in your life during this month period, 22nd of October to 22nd of November. They will likely be a result of the manifestation of this eclipse energy, okay? Also, according to my teachers, and I've found this to be true in my own life, there will usually be some event that manifests in that period. And going on from there, for the 6 months following, we usually are dealing with the result of that event. Might be a new job, might be a new relationship, might be an ending of an old relationship. It could be new friends coming into your life, new social circles, could be a new investment opportunity, could be anything. But the event or the news or the experience that happens in that month of activation will lead into the following 6 months. You are less likely to, in fact, I have not seen it evolve this way. The big event that occurs as a result of the eclipses does not usually fall outside of that activation phase. So we have the results of that event that play out over the next 6 months. And we are under the influence of that event for the next 6 months, sometimes even longer than that, sometimes can be up to 18 years in truth. But the event will occur between those activation dates that I've just given you. So keep your eyes peeled, friends. What's happening in your life, it's going to be significant for you going forward. So interestingly, this is just a bit of astronomy for you. Just before an eclipse occurs, there's always a drop in the Earth's electromagnetic emissions. So there is an actual scientific energy correlation to what is happening energetically in the skies with an eclipse as well, based on astronomy. In mundane astrology, lunar eclipses are the kind of eclipses that usually affect the masses, whereas the new moon eclipses, the solar eclipses, usually affect the leadership. And we've seen this happening. I mean, look in the UK where their political leader changed over at the time of the new moon eclipse. That leadership energy was affected. So there's a perfect example right there. I'll also point out to you that solar eclipses, new moon eclipses, are rarer to see than lunar eclipses. Lunar eclipses are usually visible from up to 50% of the area of the Earth, whereas the solar eclipses are only seen from a very smaller portion, so they're rarer to see. And it correlates to the idea that lunar eclipses affect the masses, the population, the general consensus of humanity, or the general human consciousness, I should say, whereas that smaller eclipse affects the leaders, usually pertaining to where that eclipse is visible. The solar eclipse is visible. A little bit more about solar eclipses. Lunar eclipses. Any changes that come with a lunar eclipse will be caused from the inside outward. Inner changes that you go through and process will beget external changes in your life experience. So really do some analysis now. What have you been feeling? What have you been letting go of in the last week or two? What have you been wrangling with in your inner world since the last lunation, i.e. the new moon? So that new moon in Scorpio 2 weeks ago, what has been, churning inside you and coming up to be dealt with? It's very significant now. Some astrological texts indicate that a full moon, a lunar eclipse, is felt stronger by people who are born at night. having what we call a nocturnal chart. That's because the moon is the more significant luminary than the sun in those charts. Now, that for me, I'm born at night, and so for me, this particular eclipse is going to be far more significant than the previous eclipse was. So in a full moon eclipse, anything that finishes in your life during this activation phase, 22nd of October to the 22nd of November, anything that finishes in your life during that time will remain finished and will remain closed to you. You won't go back and restart it somewhere down the track. Now, that includes jobs, that includes relationships, that includes, certain financial dynamics. It includes the way you're communicating or personal ethics and morals that you sort of, that's not going to be my ethics and morals. I'm not going to align with that anymore. Well, you'll never go back to that way of thinking again if you make that choice of new ethics and morals during this eclipse activation phase. So do you get the picture? Whatever it is in your life that ends now, it's finished for good. But only what ends between the 22nd of October and the 22nd of November, that activation phase. So the energy of the lunar eclipse is all about realigning with your purpose, realigning with your intent for incarnation. And this is especially true in the case of this particular chart because the full moon is lining up with the north node, the destiny point in the sky. Now, sometimes we have a full moon in alignment with the south node, and that indicates a letting go or a need to revisit the old and sort of work through some old processes. Not with the north node. It's about realigning with the destiny, realigning with why we incarnated. And anything that is superfluous to why we incarnated will need to be let go of under this energy. So remember, friends, to always act with kindness and forgiveness and grace if something is leaving your life now. You might be the one letting go of something or someone out of your life, or you might be the one being let go of yourself. And that's okay, because for all of us, it's about aligning with our purpose and intent for incarnation. We don't own anybody. We don't owe anybody anything other than kindness. That's really all that we can give. And this includes kindness to ourselves. So if something is being eclipsed, as we say, out of your life, it's meant to be. And it's usually meant to be for the highest good of the person who is letting go of something. And also, if it's for their highest good, then it's for the highest good of the purpose. For the highest good of the person who is being let go of as well. Please keep that in mind. And even though there is sometimes pain with endings, the best way to deal with it is to have that level of non-attachment and let go. Just let things flow through you so that the universe can take you into your greatest purpose for your highest good and your soul's incarnation on the planet. So in alignment with that, allow in whatever is taking place. Don't fight it. Go with the flow. If something's releasing out of your life now, it's the correct time to allow it to go. Like I said, it can be an emotional time, but remember, life's endings are also life's new beginnings. You can't have an ending without a new beginning. It's just the way it goes. Now, for some people, there will be some sort of news of a big life event that will affect you and might come to you between the 22nd of October and the 22nd of November. That activation period. So keep an ear, like if you get an email or if you get some word or some message from spirit comes through to you, or somebody sends you some newsletter or something, there's going to be some big life event that you'll get word of for a start. Often there'll also be a random event that you didn't expect, especially since this eclipse is falling with the North Node, which is an erratic energy as it is, but also with Uranus. We're going to talk about this a little later. My God, woof, this eclipse is going to be off the Richter scale for shocks, surprises, didn't see that coming. Wow, for better or worse, okay? When an eclipse falls with the North Node is hungry, and North Node actually carries a similar energy to Uranus, so we've got double whammy of this effect. It's going to be surprising, but it's also going to have the effect of liberating you in some area of your life where you need to let go of something and guide you back to your authenticity, guide you back to your truth. That's what Uranus's purpose is, authenticity and truth. Okay? So that's the purpose. To me, that's the main purpose of this eclipse. We'll talk about the chart of the eclipse in a second, but I do want to also point out there is a square to Saturn that's occurring. So there's going to be some resistance that will happen as a result of you seeking your liberation and your freedom and your authenticity and your truth. So be aware of that. Resistance is present, but keep going for your truth. Keep going for your living your authentic life and what that looks like for you. We often find during a lunar eclipse that the true character of somebody might be revealed for the first time, and it may not be pretty. You might see the dark side of the moon, as we say. Okay, so that revelation is likely to occur between the 22nd of October and the 22nd of November. So pay attention to all events, all news, all gossip, all interactions in this eclipse season. They're going to be important in your life, particularly if you have this eclipse falling on personal planets. We'll talk about that very shortly in this video. So if this eclipse is happening to fall on your sun placement, so if just say your sun is here at 16 degrees of Scorpio, then your sun placement is being activated, and you know that it's going to be a key year in the course of your life because your birth chart, your solar return chart for the year ahead, it's not your birth chart, it's your solar return chart for the year ahead, is going to be carrying this full moon eclipse in it. So if you have your birthday on the 8th of November, you're carrying this with your year ahead energy. It's going to be with you all year long. This happened in 2018 for me with an eclipse like this. And it was a year that I will never forget. It's a year that I was kicked in the pants basically by the universe to make astrology my full-time career, as having done it on the sidelines, every evening until midnight or 1 o'clock for a few years. I was forced by the universe to get rid of my day job and make astrology my full-time job. And I'm so glad that it happened, but it was scary going through that. It was a kick in the pants for me to get on my path, to get on my trajectory. So that happened for me when I had an eclipse on my sun placement in 2018. You might be going through something as significant as that for you as well. Now, if you happen to be a Cancer rising person, a Cancer sun person, or a Cancer moon person, you can be more affected by this eclipse as well, simply because the moon, which is the planet that is being eclipsed, literally, it's falling under the shadow of the earth, it rules your sign. And so you will be more affected by this. So remember, anybody born at nighttime will be more affected by this because the moon is the more significant luminary at night. That's using something called sect in Hellenistic astrology. Or if you are a Cancer sun, moon or rising person, you're going to be affected. Okay? So this eclipse period, it's always this way, but particularly as this is a total eclipse, this is a climatic time. Full moons usually are, but it's a full moon on steroids when an eclipse is involved with it. And so what unfolds now is going to be the climax of something that has been building in your life for possibly quite a while. The last 6 months since the last set of eclipses, let's start at the beginning, from the last 2 weeks since the new moon eclipse, the last 6 months since we had another set of eclipses unfolding, or in some cases, it may be the culmination, the climax or something that began 18 years ago under the Saros cycle. Now, just on the Saros cycle, I will just mention really, really briefly here. Somebody asked me a question in the last eclipse video. Hang on, I thought eclipses occurred in 19-year cycles. Well, in that case, you're talking about the Metonic cycle, which is a very different thing to the Saros cycle, okay? In brief, and you can study this with me in the Royal Stars Academy if you would like to. I'd love people to join me at the Royal Stars Academy. But the metonic cycle is based on eclipses falling at a repeating degree in your chart, okay? Whereas the Saros cycle is a family of eclipses. They're two different things, okay? But I go into that with lessons at the Royal Stars Academy, okay? So they're two different things. So when we're looking at the effects of an eclipse, in this case, it's a climax of something that began 18 years ago for us, all right? Enough about lunar full moon eclipses. Let's talk about what's the general nature of an eclipse in the sign of Taurus. Well, again, any full moon is about life reaching a climatic peak point now. And it's for us personally and it's for us globally. No coincidences that there are a number of elections, not just in America, but there are other elections occurring around the world too at this time, because it's a climatic point globally, and there's going to be some changes and some shifts to align with the current global energy of humanity right now, the collective energy of humanity right now, as well as personally a climatic point, okay? Taurus is finance, connected to financial things, and so financial issues might come to a head under a full moon in Taurus. Issues around security and stability in your life might come up under a Taurus influence as well. You might be feeling the energy of, am I safe and secure in the world? Can I provide for what I need in the future? An eclipse a full moon rather, in Taurus indicates a desire to connect with nature as well, the earth, rurality, self-sufficiency, and general earthiness. Our hunger for that, our longing for those things can increase under a full moon in Taurus. Taurus is also about what we value as well, what we value in ourselves and what we value in our life. So we might be being challenged under a full moon in Taurus to reflect on what we value, What do I find valuable in me? What do I find valuable in the people around me? And we tend to notice where we've fallen short of the values that we carry, and where we've also been on point with our values in our life. And we can, under this full moon in Taurus, make adjustments to sort of line up more with our value system. So that's the nature of a general full moon in Taurus. It's going to be amplified, all those themes that I've just spoken on, because of the eclipse energy, which is a full moon on steroids. Let's take a look at this chart. So I'm only using 5-degree orbs because I like to work with tight orbs so that I get a clearer picture. Otherwise, things could be a bit iffy. So the tighter the orbs, the stronger the potential for manifestation, okay? So let's look at the chart. I'm going to draw it on the board for you. We've got a conjunction of the full moon with Uranus, as we've already pointed out here. That's part of this eclipse energy. We know that this full moon lunar eclipse is obviously when the sun and the moon are in opposite parts of the sky. The sun's in Scorpio, the moon's in Taurus. An opposition creates a full moon. So again, that's part of this eclipse chart. We also have a square to Saturn being made by the moon, and I'm using 5-degree orbs, remember? There's also a square from Uranus, which we'll represent by that line as well, to Saturn. And we also have a square aspect forming to this group of planets down here, which includes the Sun, Venus, and Mercury. So we've got Saturn by 5-degree tight orb squaring the majority of planets in the chart right now. The only planets it's not touching, Saturn, is Jupiter, Neptune, Pluto, and Mars. So thank God we're not having a square with Mars involved. That can be pretty hairy. So, or Pluto for that matter. So we've got this heavy, tense square occurring. I'm going to talk about this in a second too. There is a saving grace that I need to point out as well. Some astrologers are pointing out that there is a saving grace with a sextile from the moon to Neptune and a trine from the moon to the sun, but that's beyond that 5-degree orb. Neptune is at 23 degrees, while this eclipse is occurring at 16 degrees here. So obviously that's more than this 5-degree orb that I use. So you might hear some astrologers talking about that trine. It's actually not, in my opinion, playing in as strongly as it needs to. This is a far stronger aspect that's occurring. Okay, so knowing that that is occurring says that's going to be the more noticeable influence. All right. Now, at this time, you can see here, we've got little Venus and Mercury in a conjunction here with the sun. Now, I've got this on the board incorrectly, because what is really going on, if this is our vantage point here on Earth, represented by the Guiding Star logo here in the middle, what is really happening is that we are having a conjunction of Venus, that's Venus in the green there, and a conjunction of Mercury, Mercury in the orange, with the sun, where they fall behind the sun. So from our vantage point on Earth, when we look at the sun, we see the sun and we don't see Venus and Mercury. That is combustion, where they are lost in the glare of the sun behind the sun. So the rays of Mercury and the rays of Venus cannot reach us. It's different when there's a conjunction when they're in front of the sun, because their rays can reach us even if they're invisible in the sky, lost in the glare of the sun. Their rays of energy can still reach us on the Earth. Not so when it's like this. So this is known as combustion. So that's another thing that's involved in this eclipse, is that Mercury and Venus are combust. We'll talk about what that means shortly. And the final thing that's going on in this, like I said, it's a difficult eclipse. The final thing is that Mars is retrograde. It's not tying in by aspect, but Mars is retrograding, moving backwards in the sky, which I spoke of in my video last week if you want to know all about the effects of that energy. Mars is retrograding, but not only that. The hairy thing that Mars is bringing to this eclipse is that it is what we call OOB. What is OOB, Kesenya? It's out of bounds. It means it's beyond the declination of the sun. It's beyond, actually I haven't looked to see whether it's beyond the Tropic of Capricorn or the Tropic of Cancer. It's one of them. So I do forgive me for not having the full information there. But it's beyond the ordinary trajectory of declination. And because of that, whenever a planet is out of bounds, OOB, it is... Sounds like OMG, doesn't it? Pretty much that's what it means. OOB, it's wild. It's wild and erratic and unpredictable. And you just imagine Mars, the god of war, wild, erratic, unpredictable. It's not really something you want when you've got this hairy, volatile, erratic kind of, don't know what you're going to get, eclipse playing out, all right? So, oh boy. This is just a huge eclipse. So settle in now with your notepad in hand as I go through what all of those energies in this chart actually mean for us at a personal level. I'm not doing mundane astrology for the collective here. This is all about us. Okay. Firstly, we've got Venus on the 7th of November. Remember, the eclipse is on the 8th. So on the 7th of November, Venus is squaring Saturn. Well, this is my favorite transit. Said nobody ever. Venus square Saturn sucks, right? Look, I'll talk about the negative, and there is some energies that we can utilize to deal with this. This is a twice annual transit, and it can bring feelings of disappointment in love, frustration with our responsibilities, frustration with our duties, difficulty relaxing, difficulty having fun. We can see our money start to go down the drain in some way. We feel repressed by maybe the intimate connections that are in our life. Not to mention that in this square, Venus is also combust, as we've talked about, invisible and behind the sun. So her energy is lost. We're not receiving Venus's energy right now. It would be so nice if we were, but we're not. So naturally, without this consciousness of Venus, this can bring this melancholy and this brooding to the energy of this eclipse. So how can we deal with this? Well, the secret is to sort of detach a little. Realize, Kesenya gave me this knowledge, this empowerment, that this is just an energy doing its thing. I'm going to take time to rest. I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to observe all my relationships with a bit of objectivity. And I'm going to remember that this is a cycle and it too will pass. Okay? Secret to handling that heavy duty not opposition, square aspect. And then, of course, we're having the eclipse, which I've described, and all that a lunar eclipse in Taurus represents. We know I've described that. That's occurring on the 8th of November. And then on the 9th of November, so straight after this eclipse, we get like bang, 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 some really heavy duty triggers going off to exactitude by degree. So we have, on the 9th, we have this square from Mercury occurring to Saturn. Remember, this is not Mercury cazimi. That's when Mercury cazimi is a beautiful empowered energy, when Mercury is exact in conjunction with and in front of the sun. It's behind the sun and therefore it's combust. So we might lose our, I've talked about, I do apologize. I was talking about the Mercury square to Saturn. It's actually, what I'm talking about here is Mercury in conjunction with the sun. It's not Mercury cazimi, it's Mercury combust conjunction with the sun. So what happens in that case, forget the Saturn, that's got nothing to do with it. I went down the wrong tangent there. This is at 16 degrees, they're conjuncting right after the eclipse occurs, and because of this, we might lose our usual sense of humor, our wittiness, our sociability, our usual ability to communicate can be burnt up by the heat of the sun in a conjunction with Mercury. We might feel very restless. We might feel very uncomfortable with our lives, even for no apparent reason. I'm sure we're going to see the reasons. For many of us will be like, I can't stand this anymore in my life. But there might be some of us who are like feeling this, just like, restless, even though everything in my life seems wonderful. So that restlessness can come because of this. But don't fret. I want to point out that even though this is a combustion, the conjunction with the sun is actually a helpful transit, because it is representing the halfway point of the Mercury cycle, and it's a culmination energy of whatever was unfolding for you during the Mercury retrograde period back in September. I want to ask you, what were you doing? What was happening in your life on the 23rd of September? What was unfolding then? What conversations were you having? What interactions were occurring? What thoughts were in your heart and mind and soul? Because that was the beginning of the Mercury cycle on the 23rd of September, and now we're halfway through the Mercury cycle. What messages did that Mercury retrograde period bring you? Then this period after, like this halfway point, has been a period of acting upon the messages that we were given during Mercury retrograde. So there should have been some follow-up action on those messages. So since the 23rd of September, you might have had people coming back into your life. You might have been rejigging what wasn't working in your life in some way, adjusting your societal expectations. You might have been reinvigorating what had become worn out during that time. So what this is, this conjunction of Mercury and the Sun in what we know as, what we call its, at the end of the Promethean retrograde and direct cycles, it's now concluded, and something has happened that has manifested in our life as a result of the retrograde that's now causing us to begin a new phase in our life. Okay? And that's going to happen now as Mercury moves beyond the Sun. So see that it's just interesting to me that we're concluding the Promethean retrograde and direct cycles of Mercury at the same time as the eclipse. It really heralds wrapping up of an old cycle and beginning something new, which is what a full moon energy is all about. It's the culmination. You can't get any brighter with a full moon. It's the moon at its max capacity, its max visibility in the sky. So it represents the manifestation of something, and you've gone as far with it as you're going to go. And the same with Mercury. You are in this culmination of what began on the 23rd of September, what was unfolding, the messages to spirit. So there's really this double whammy energy with this eclipse of a culmination period and, a sense of, right, this is the fullness, the fruit of what I've been dealing with in my life. So this eclipse carries a very heavy emphasis on that. Okay, also on the 9th of November, right after the eclipse, well, obviously we're going to have a Mercury opposition to Uranus as well, and this is an influence that speeds things up. Our mind and our nervous system are on overdrive with this energy. It can leave us feeling overwhelmed and shaky and sometimes a bit headachy. So if you're suffering physical symptoms as a result of this eclipse, that's possibly the reason why. It might be good to take some magnesium to support you under this influence. It's not really a good time when you've got Mercury combust and in opposition to Uranus to be signing any contracts or deals, because they might tend to come back to bite you. Okay, so just awareness of that. Similarly, electronics can be your kryptonite. So some of us might be having around the eclipse, computer crashes, glitches with programs, problems with our iPhones and so on. Knowledge is power, remember? So instead, what we can do is direct our thinking into some fresh new ideas now, new concepts. We might get involved, like reading some bohemian writings or watching some alternative documentaries. They're great things to do under Mercury, Uranus energy. We might have some conversations with unusual people or talk about ideas that are really left of center. And we might just find that because of this energy and tying into the strength of the eclipse, that our perceptions are challenged in a healthy way. They're liberating us. They're setting us free. They're helping us find our truth. So there can be some positives that come out of this opposition if we direct our thought patterns and our thinking energy into those areas. Keep the energy light and breezy and fun wherever you can. And if you need to to connect with people, then do so in that light, fun way, to sort of boost that Mercury energy where it's struggling right now in its combustion. Okay, the Sun at the same time is also opposite Uranus. That's tying into this eclipse as well. This is a once-a-year transit that really stirs us up. The Sun rules Leo, and Uranus rules its opposite sign, Aquarius, in modern astrology. So these two big boys can behave very much like arch enemies at times. Okay, they don't sort of help each other out all that much, especially if they're in opposition. But it is an energy of change, of shaking us out of a rut. It's an energy of epiphanies, of exciting new people, exciting new events. And in that sense, this eclipse energy conjunct with Uranus can act on us like a tonic if we've been just spinning our wheels or running on the hamster wheel and feeling like we're getting nowhere and just life is stuck. Well, this is going to get us big time out of that puddle. So don't get all comfy just yet. Your feelings of stuckness can sometimes lead with this opposition to sort of bursting out, sometimes inappropriately, okay? Like we've had it up to here and the volcano erupts. So expect that your best laid plans could go a bit awry under this eclipse energy, and that means the Sun opposite Uranus. Chaos could be on the menu. Forewarned, forearmed. Also, the Sun is male authority figures, and they could really be starting to behave erratically or rebelliously or in a way that gets the better of us if we're not aware. So watch the male authority figures in the world. How are they behaving? Are they being a bit too egotistical and so on and so on? Of course they are. Observe. It's usually going to tie back to this Uranus opposite Sun energy. But note to self, act with caution in all circumstances today. Stop, consider, think before you act, I would just say. So that's really one of the main energies of this eclipse, I must point out. Then we have the Mercury square to Saturn occurring. This is happening on the 10th. So again, we're really tying into all this eclipse stuff that's happening this week. It's time to, when you've got Mercury squaring Saturn, it's time to notice that traffic light and act accordingly. It's on amber, I've got to stop. This is going to be a challenging energy. Going down the mental rabbit hole of loneliness and depression and sadness and, oh, poor me, is very likely to occur. Saturn square Mercury just brings these heavy thoughts. So we need to put our foot on the brake as we approach this traffic light. Slow down. Give ourselves a mental rest if we can. Make sure that we have some self-love strategies up our sleeve if we find that we're struggling. do go into this eclipse with this preparedness. Okay, I'm going to feel sad. Who can I call on to just sort of offload and share my feelings? I'll buy that. Everybody knows I love chocolate. I'll buy that block of chocolate and run that bubble bath and just allow myself some downtime, a glass of wine, block of chocolate in the bath, have some self-love strategies in readiness for this energy and the energy of the eclipse, because there might be some negative thinking, there might be some gloomy attitudes or feeling at odds with your social and familiar circle. You need to be aware of this. This is the manifestations of Saturn square to Mercury. But you can channel this energy into better things, like having the self-love strategies, of course, but also into detailed work. Get out that cross stitch, get out that wood burning kit or the calligraphy set and do some detailed work. You can channel this energy into strategizing and doing some goal setting, planning. You can go and, read under this Mercury energy. Read something formal or instructive under this energy. Another thing that you can do is cleaning. You can use this energy to clean out the cupboard and mop the floor, This is actually a very constructive way to use Mercury square Saturn and to do productive work, such as cleaning. It can help us feel a lot better. So get that mop ready. Okay? And the final energy that's tying into this eclipse is obviously the square here that's being made to the moon and the sun. And that brings a heaviness, okay, that's there. This is happening sort of a day and a half after the eclipse, where we actually make the exact connection, but it's tying in, obviously, because it's within a 5-degree orb of the eclipse. We are going to feel constricted. We feel like we're going to squish our confidence into a matchbox because it's that small. It's a sucky energy, and our emotions are heavy and sad and lackluster too, moon energy. But remember, it's a cycle and it will pass. So be prepared for this eclipse energy to work with this and give yourself what you need to get through it. Let yourself feel lackluster. And if you need to sleep it off, then do that. So maybe you might be feeling a lack of support in your life. Well, get on the flannel PJs, get that block of chocolate, get a little teddy to cuddle, and put on that great movie that you love if that helps you feel better and just helps you pass this energy in a more pleasant state than brooding on something or whatever. If you feel like the waiting for life to change will never end, do something that just feels good in the moment. Lie out on the lawn and soak up some sun and, read a book out there and, enjoy whatever you can find enjoyable in your world. Essentially, under this eclipse, there is no point fighting the heavy energy that it's going to bring. The only way to dance with Saturn square Sun square Moon is to practice acceptance, practice patience, practice stoicism, because endurance is the name of the game, my friends. So find your best way to do that and be present in the moment to just enjoy the now, okay? And before you know it, this energy's done and dusted for another 6 months, when we'll have another square from the sun or the moon in this format to Saturn, okay? So let's get through it. Let's talk now about one of my favorite topics to explore in astrology, the Saros cycle or the Saros series. And this is wonderful, wonderful, interesting topic brought to our awareness in 1992 by the work of Bernadette Brady, a wonderful Australian astrologer. I love you, Bernadette. So lunar Saros series are about 800 years long. And they, in terms of the family of eclipses that occur every 18 years in the Saros cycle, they begin at the equator and they contain about 45 to 47 all up eclipses per series, whereas the solar Saros series, they last for about 1400 years long and they begin at either the North or the South Pole. So I'm not going to go into a big explanation of Saros cycles. That's something that I will do teach in my Royal Stars Academy. If you would like to learn astrology with me and learn all about eclipses in greater depth than what I'm offering you here, then do sign up and join me. I will be, just on that topic, I will be offering the Royal Stars Academy at a very discounted rate to celebrate moving into 2023. So do sign up so that you'll be notified either on my email list or the Thinkific Royal Stars Academy. Either way, you're going to get notified about the Royal Stars Academy when it goes on sale at a really, really, really reduced rate. So come study astrology with me. I'd love to teach you and connect with you there. So back to this Saros series. Now, I just have to mention that that Lunar Saros series do have they do have their own charts that are different to the Solar Saros series. That said, eclipses come in sets, usually a new moon eclipse, solar, or a full moon eclipse, lunar, and they come in sets and they're family. So what I'm going to talk about here is the family of the new moon eclipse, the solar eclipse, of which the lunar eclipse does fall under. It is a part of that energy. Now, Lunar Saros series also, as I said, have their own chart that we need to consider as well. I haven't done that for this video, in all honesty, so that's not going to be discussed. We're just looking at the solar Saros energy of which this lunar cycle does come under, okay? Outside an orb of 12 degrees and 15 minutes from the nodes, you cannot have a lunar eclipse. They fall in a tighter range than the solar eclipses do, which is why there's less of them that we experience. This particular eclipse family began with a solar eclipse, a new moon eclipse, on March the 6th, 1046, and it's going to finish on April the 8th, 2293. I always struggle with how to say the years properly. So this series of eclipses, it repeats every 18 years. That's the Saros cycle. It's the metatonic cycle that repeats on a degree every 19 years. Okay, different things. So this Saros cycle carries the energy of this initial eclipse series in the birth chart. What is this family of eclipses all about? Well, it's fascinating. The original chart was conjunct with Venus. So Venus is very important to note. And we know that in this chart, Venus is combust, okay? And she is with the sun. So she's very strongly a part of this eclipse energy. We also know that in the original eclipse chart, Pluto and Mars were in opposition. That's nasty. And that really colored the nature of this eclipse series, which was quite manic, forceful, powerful, all about strength and power, all that Pluto-Mars opposition stuff. But as you can see, Pluto's not tying into this eclipse, so it's not going to be so cray-cray, to coin a term my kids hate. And Mars, yes, is tying in through being out of bounds and retrograde. So Mars kind of has a bit of a wild card influence. Really, what we're seeing because of Mars in its state and being such an important planet in the component of these family of eclipses, what's really going on and the conjunction with Uranus is that this eclipse is wild. It's erratic. We're going to see like extreme things happen, okay? But doesn't necessarily mean extreme crap or extreme yucky things. It could be extreme benefit, extreme blessing that can happen as well. So it's just extreme, okay? Okay, so because of these three planets and their influence upon the original chart, so Pluto, Mars, and Venus, they're very important to pay attention to in the chart of each eclipse in this family of eclipses as well. So we've talked about why we've got Mars and Venus tying in and Pluto is not, okay? We needed to consider that. But the general nature of this eclipse family is being forceful, taking power back where we've lost it. So that can be a benefit, obviously. We don't want to give our power away. So in whatever sense, community-wise, world-wise, personal-wise, we might be taking our power back now under this influence. There's a manic energy that comes with this eclipse as well. So it can be, one moment you're on a high, the next moment you're crying into the phone. Oh, can you help me, my friend? I feel so bad. I've done that this week. There's force and strength that comes into the dynamic of our relationships. Maybe somebody might be more forceful or stronger or putting the foot down in a relationship, or somebody might be needing to take their force and power back from somebody that's taken it from them in a relationship. There can be sudden events like falling suddenly in love or falling suddenly out of love, like, ugh, don't touch me anymore, I'm sick of you kind of thing. There can be sudden sexual encounters that occur as well. Mars and Pluto in the original chart, what are they? Like desire, and extreme desire with Pluto. Mars is desire, Pluto is extremes of desire, and Venus is relationships and love. So that can bring about sudden sexual encounters and this sudden relational emphasis of falling in or out of love. So we know from the original family of these eclipses that there's a strong relational theme with this family. So I wanted to mention that, okay? So that's the Saros cycle of this eclipse. Now let's take a look at whereabouts this eclipse is going to be influential and what that means. So here is the eclipse path for the eclipse on November 7th or 8th, depending on where you are in the world. Let's take a look at how it plays out. Do take note of which countries light up in colours, because they're the countries that are going to be most affected. I think you can see from the screen already that there's a big, vast majority of the world that is under the influence of this particular eclipse, and it will affect the masses, i.e. the populations, not so much the leadership, but the populations of these countries. Let's take a look at the path of the eclipse now. When it works, there we go. So as you can see, right across the Pacific, North America, part of Russia, part of China. Let's have a look again, shall we? See the dark patch? That is where we're going to be able to see the eclipse from. So where I live, I'm going to be able to see it. Also, California, Canada, Vancouver, China, Russia. It's all happening. And one more time, just in case you all missed it. There we go. The Pacific Ocean, if you're on a Pacific island, right over Hawaii there. And heading into India. So do you have planets at key degrees that are being affected by this eclipse? And we're talking 16 degrees of Taurus here. Well, they're going to be activated now by the full moon energy. And this is going to bring about the fruition or the culmination of something that we've planted previously. 2 weeks ago at the new moon eclipse, maybe 6 months ago at the new moon in Taurus that occurred, could have been a year ago when we last had a full moon in Taurus, or it could have been 18 years ago when we were experiencing the eclipse of this particular family of Saros cycle eclipses 18 years ago. So we're seeing the fruition of something in each of those phases. So look back, what was happening 2 weeks ago, what was happening 6 months ago, what was happening a year ago, what was happening 18 years ago that is important for you to note now. Something could be repeating, something could be fruiting from that now. So for this eclipse energy, you will need to have a planet or important point within 2 degrees of 16 degrees of Taurus. Or it could be within 2 degrees of 16 degrees of Leo by square, or Aquarius by square, or Scorpio by conjunction. My teacher, Bernadette Brady, one of my teachers, Bernadette Brady, says that it's the squares, the conjunctions, and the oppositions that are the most impactful in eclipses. That trines and sextiles are really a bit more imperceptible. We don't notice their energy quite so much. So do keep that in mind. Okay, so if we have a planet, let's say, pardon me, if we have the sun at this point, well, it represents the manifestation or the culmination of something to do with career or your identity in the world, how you shine and the confidence that you have out there in the world. So the sun is I am this, I am that, and something is culminating with how you identify yourself under this energy. If you have the moon in your natal chart at this point, there's a culmination of something to do with the fulfillment of your needs, what you feel that you need in order to be fulfilled in life. It's coming to a conclusion. It's reaching its fruit. It's reaching its end point now. You always thought that you needed to have the white picket fence and the little cute yellow house with the 2.5 kids and all that stuff to fulfill your needs in life. And maybe you're realizing, oh, hang on, I don't need that after all to fulfill me. There's a culmination of the fulfillment of your needs. There could also be a culmination of any circumstances to do with your home and family if you have the moon at this point. If you have Mercury at this point, there's a culmination of opportunities for you in social circles, connections and communications. There's a culmination of opportunities in trade or business. Or with a learning situation as well. There's an ending and a fruiting that's unfolding. Venus at this point might represent a culmination of a love connection or a financial situation that's either coming to its fruitfulness, like maybe you've been sort of dating somebody for the last 6 months or something, and now it's reaching the fruit. Oh, we get committed to one another, like we move in together or we get engaged or whatever it happens to look like. There's a culmination, or it could be that you've been sort of going through the tearing your hair out, I'm sick of this relationship kind of thing, and it culminates with an ending. Some sort of culmination relationally or financially if Venus is at this point. We might also have, if we have Mars here, we might be sort of ending a battle. There's a fruit of some sort of animosity or the culmination of some angst or warlike energy that's been playing out in your life. There could also be the culmination of a certain desire that you have had in your life too, seeing it reach its fruitfulness. Jupiter at this point might indicate the manifestation of a new belief system, the culmination, like leaving behind an old belief system and welcoming in a new belief system, or something that brings you joy. Jupiter is joy. Jupiter is jovial. So there's this culmination of a joyful experience with Jupiter here. So I do hope everyone's got Jupiter at that point. Saturn can represent the sort of a fruition of a new structure in your life. It can also represent a hierarchy having influence in your life or some limitations being put on your life. That's what Saturn rules. So there might be a need for you to embrace more maturity now, as there's this culmination point that's going to require you to put some new parameters, new boundaries, new limitations in place. Uranus at this point will generally have a generational effect, but it can represent a manifestation of something exciting, something unexpected. If you've got Uranus here, well, yeah, you're about 84. If you're having a Uranus conjunction with the full moon in your natal chart, well, it would be quite an interesting one to observe what happens in your life. It could be detrimentally surprising at 84. You know what I'm saying when I'm saying that. But for anyone else who's got it, here in Aquarius or Scorpio or Leo, then there could be something, as I said, something exciting or unexpected that's occurring. Neptune, again, a generational influence, but it can manifest something creative in your life, something glamorous or something spiritual that you experience. Pluto, a generational influence as well, can be manifesting sort of more personal power, a need to transform the self in some way, a need to re-emerge out of a difficult life situation, can also be present here too. So I've talked about if you've got personal planets at these points. You can also check if you've got your ascendant or descendant, your MC and your IC, any anticia points, any contra anticia points, any mid points, Briga Bindu points can also trigger activation in your life as well. If you don't know what those things are that I've just described, why not join the Patreon family, because I have videos all about anticia points contra and Tisha points, etc. In the Patreon family list of videos. It's a growing catalogue of astrology resources that you can use at the Guiding Star family. If you join at Bronze Star level, check it out. It's in the description below. Now we're going to move into doing our ceremony for the full moon eclipse in Taurus. If you are a YouTube watcher, you won't have access to the ceremony. If you are on Patreon, let's move into our eclipse full moon ceremony now together. Now let's go through all the signs. We're going to start with where the eclipse is occurring, obviously in Taurus. So this is where we're going to see some sudden changes wherever the eclipse, whatever house the eclipse is occurring in our chart, where we're going to also see something reach the end of the road that brings us to a state of liberation in some way. So for Taurus rising, Taurus sun or moon people, well, this is the relationship axis. So it could be that a relationship is suddenly ending, or a relationship of some sort is suddenly beginning in some way as a result of this eclipse. I met my first husband on an eclipse on the relationship axis, and we were together for 10 years. I look back on it as being a positive time in my life, even though we're no longer together. So relationships are the focal point when you're having an eclipse on, particularly your ascendant descendant would be very, very powerful here. So there can be some changes obviously coming in a relationship, but it's likely to be shocking. It's likely to be unexpected. You didn't see it coming, okay? There can be sudden changes in appearance. You know, you might suddenly decide, you know what, I'm going to get my hair all shaved off. On the spur of the moment, and away you go down to the hairdressers, you know. Appearance can change suddenly, drastically as a result of the influence of this energy on you personally in your first house. There can be a change in how you are protecting yourself in life, how you're surviving, how you're thriving in the world in some manner that happens suddenly, shockingly, in a way you didn't see coming, okay? So that can be the case as well, but it is, remember, going to lead to your liberation. So your ability to thrive the way you've always been thriving in the world might go through a radical transformation as a result of this eclipse, when it's going to take you more into your destiny. So that can be in areas of anywhere: finance, career, social connections, networking, anywhere. The ability of you to survive and thrive is going to be transformed through many varied facets of life. There can be sudden changes that occur in your life that lead you to take entrepreneurial steps or make new starts or turn over a new leaf, because the energy of the first house is initiation. It's an action house. So you will be inspired to take action in your life, in the world, in how you're living, maybe to survive better, thrive better, take action to change your appearance. Now, action is required, and as I said, that can lead to some entrepreneurial endeavors being established. It's a healing placement, actually. So even though I wouldn't call this eclipse a healing eclipse, what is going to happen is that you're going to be shaken out of a rut, and by doing so, it will heal some aspect of your life that has not been functioning, where you've been spinning your wheels, where you've been feeling frustrated. In that sense, could be very positive, my beautiful Taurus friends. So you are probably reaching the end of the road with some sort of personal identification. And, you know, the first house is I am, just like the sun is I am. So the first house is I am a mother, I am a lover, I am single, I am married. Some type of personal identification is reaching its culmination. You're getting the end of the road with, maybe your kids are about to leave home, and, you know, your role as a mother is about to go through a radical shift with this energy. You will still always be a mother, but it's about to change, for example's sake. So it could be how you identify yourself. I am a town planner. I am an astrologer. I am whatever. How do you identify yourself? It's about to go through some kind of shift as a result of this eclipse. So if you would like to hear the extended report for your sign, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family, where there is a 2 to 3 hour video exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. You're going to love it. And if you would like to study astrology with me in 2023, head to the website, join my mailing list, so I can let you know when the 2023 sale for the Royal Stars Academy and all that wonderful learning with me actually kicks off. Okay, so thank you, my beautiful Taurus friends. If we are Aries rising, Aries sun, Aries moon people, the energy of the eclipse is falling in your second house. So Aries people, this is going to see a sudden shock to your value system. What you thought you always valued, suddenly you don't value it anymore. Or, what you thought you would never appreciate, never value, suddenly you can see the worth in it. A change to value system. Also a change to how you value yourself that occurs here as well. Your ability to value yourself, or what you value in yourself, might go through a radical shift. And that, as we talked about in the intro, that inner change is going to cause some outer circumstances to change in your life as well. There's an ending of something in your life that's occurring now with this eclipse that's going to enable you to ultimately down the road become more self-sufficient. And by self-sufficient, I don't necessarily mean getting out there and planting your veggies to grow your own veggies and stuff, although that can be the case. But if you Aries people, if you've been depending on somebody else, it's very unlike an Aries person to do that, by the way. But if you've been, say, I'm going to use an illustration that I do see in the world around me on frequent basis. If you've been a woman who has just been kept by her husband, like he goes out and makes all the money and you just sit at home and watch Netflix and eat chocolates. And I'm not saying that you're that Aries. I know most people watching this video will not be in that position, but I'm using it as an illustration. If you have been in that position where you have not been living in your own self-sufficiency, that could be coming to an end for you in some way. So maybe that woman sitting on the couch watching Netflix all day while hubby goes out there and earns the big bucks, maybe it's time that she's going to need to get out there and get a job herself, or get her own apartment, or start actually contributing to the family unit more, instead of sort of being a kept woman, as we would say. I'm thinking of those shows, what are they called? Real Housewives of Miami or some other BS. Anyway, there's an ending if you have not been self-sufficient. Now, I've used an extreme illustration there, but it could be that you need to go out and start growing your own veggies, so that you can be more self-sufficient. There's an ending in your life happening in some realm that's going to push you into becoming more independently self-sufficient now. Okay? You could also be hitting the end of the road with some sort of financial situation. It might bring in new financial opportunities that you didn't see coming. So keep your eyes peeled. Now things will happen suddenly and unexpectedly. Didn't see that one. Woof, what an opportunity. Do be aware that there could be new financial opportunities. Equally, there could be some shakiness that occurs with finances. Now be aware, Aries, too. Forewarned, forearmed. Remember, as I said in the intro. There could be sudden changes now in how and why you might feel safe and secure in the world. Okay? So you might have felt safe and secure as that woman, watching Netflix at home all day and just la-di-da. And suddenly something changes and you no longer feel safe and secure sitting at home watching Netflix all day. And that forces you to get out there and become a more independent person. Now, that said, as an Aries rising person, you are very independent. You have this capacity. So don't be too afraid by that, because Aries people, they're go-getters. They're out there independently making their way in the world and taking it all on, So don't be afraid. You've got what it takes, Aries, to do that. But something will probably happen in your life that will encourage you more into that independent lifestyle, and sudden changes that take you into a new dynamic of how and why you're feeling safe and secure in the world. So this has just been a portion of what I share ultimately with my Patreon family. If you want to hear the extended interpretation for your sign, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family, where there is a 2 to 3 hour video explaining what this eclipse means for all signs. And if you would like to study astrology with me, Aries friends, in 2023, head to the website, join my mailing list so I can let you know when the Royal Stars Academy goes on sale at heavily discounted prices for the year and enrollments for 2023. Pisces rising, sun or moon people. Well, this eclipse is falling for we Pisces friends in the third house. So this is where we're going to get sudden shocking changes in our point of view or our mental perspective on people, places, things in life. It's not about changing our ethics or our morals, but our opinions, our ideas are going to change. We're going to get a different view of things, and it might come as a shock. We might not, we might have seen that coming. Maybe we always thought a different way, and then this eclipse occurs and it's like, well, hang on, I don't actually think that way anymore. Different points of view, big changes. We didn't see it coming. It was unexpected, and it's radical, but it's liberating. Always liberating whenever Uranus is involved. We can also, because Uranus is a very psychic planet, we can get big intuitive hunches and big psychic downloads now. We need to trust them under this eclipse. I think, to be perfectly honest with you, the last 2 weeks in this eclipse period, oh my God, my psychic intuition, I am shocked at it. I'm lifting my jaw off the floor at how psychic I am at the moment, how I tune into things before they happen, and then they happen and I'm like, oh my God, I knew this was happening. So intuitive hunches, psychic downloads, they're happening in abundance for us now because this eclipse is falling in this house of that mental clarity. Now, we could also find Pisces people that there might be a sister or a brother, a neighbor, a relative of some sort who are changing their relationship dynamic with us now. It can indicate a possible ending of a relationship, a loss of a relationship, or a changing of connection. So by loss of relationship, it might look like, you know what, my sister's always lived down the road from me. Then I decide I'm going to move to the other end of the country. We no longer have that same connection because we're not in proximity to each other. It can look like that. Okay, so there's a change in dynamic with a sibling, a neighbor, or a friend perhaps as well, with this energy. And it's reaching the end of the road with the state of being with those relationships that this eclipse can represent. This is the house of receiving news and communications and messages. There could be some surprising news arrive in your life, news that you didn't see coming, but news that liberates you from maybe a stuckness that you've been feeling or a heaviness that you've been feeling. You're set free, and it empowers you. It takes you more into your authenticity. Surprising news arriving your way during this eclipse season, Pisces. It could also indicate the end of the road for some people with a small business idea, with a skill or a talent. You might be shifting into a new dynamic now. So, I'm an astrologer. It may not mean that I'm going to stop doing astrology, but it might mean I change how I do it. It might mean that I change what I'm offering under this eclipse. So there's this end of the road with the way I've been doing things in my business or with my skill or with my talent. Okay. Now, in ancient astrology, the third house was the natural house of the moon. And so it's an indicator, or they correlated it to the energy of priestesses who are messengers of the gods. So if the moon was here in a natal chart. So you might have, Pisces, as a result of this eclipse in the third house, you might have a message from the gods for humanity. So it's my prayer that this video is that and can be a blessing. So like, share and subscribe, my friends, so that we can get that message about this eclipse out there to all people who are interested and value astrology. Now, if you would like to hear the extended interpretation for your sign, Pisces, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family? You can sign up for just a month if that's all you want to do. But at the Guiding Star family, there will be a 2 to 3 hour video exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. Okay, so if you would like to also study astrology with me and learn more astrology about eclipses and so on, then head to the website, Guiding Star Astrology, join my mailing list so that I can let you know when the 2023 sale for the Royal Stars Academy begins. Okay? All right, Aquarius, rising sun or moon people. Well, you guys are squaring the eclipse. It's falling on the angular 4th house for you. Let me set this straight. As always, we have a bit of a wobbly section in my board. Okay, so 4th house Aquarius, there can be sudden, shocking, unexpected changes in your family dynamic or in the domestic situation in your home. This is also a very deep emotional area of the chart, the 4th house, and so you could be very psychic now as a result of this eclipse and get some very highly emotionally charged intuitive downloads, sensitive downloads. Trust your intuition now, especially about family, parents, and home. If you're getting the message, I think I need to ring my dad, ring your dad, like tune in, trust the gut, trust the intuition now. Some Aquarian people will be reaching the end of the road, a culmination, with a dynamic with a parent, particularly a mother figure. For example, your mum might be moving away or changing residences. It's not about having a falling out necessarily, but it's a shift in how you relate and how you are able to relate that could be happening. Some Aquarius people might be going through like the breaking out of a rut or a difficult cycle they've been in with their family or their home life or the state and condition of their house. That can happen as a result of the eclipse. So some Aquarius people might be choosing to renovate or, connect with family where they haven't spoken for years and that kind of thing. There's a liberation effect that's occurring with this placement. But it's the end of an era and a new beginning that is starting with this eclipse cycle to do with garden, home, domestic life, or parents, or the way you are parenting. That's what's changing, Aquarius. Now, if you would like to hear the extended interpretation for this very important house in your astrology chart, then why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family, where there's a 2 to 3 hour video exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. Very extensive. Head on over, the link's in the description below. If you would also like to study astrology with me in 2023, then go to the Guiding Star website, sign up to the mailing list, and then I can let you know when the 2023 sale for the Royal Stars Academy actually begins, so you don't miss out on the bargains. Capricorn, rising, sun or moon people, well, the energy of this eclipse is falling in the blessed 5th house. It's one of the luckiest houses in the horoscope, according to Vedic astrology. So it's an interesting placement to be having an eclipse. But this eclipse is all about getting you out of a rut, liberating you, and concluding something that no longer serves a purpose in your life. So there could be a changing dynamic with a lover, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. Some people might separate now under this influence. It's a very relational eclipse, as we've talked about in the introduction. But some people might be simply changing the dynamic that they have with the relationship that they are in, of a boyfriend-girlfriend variety too. If you end things now, it's likely to be because somebody new comes in, because you suddenly fall out of love with one person and suddenly fall into love with somebody else. Okay, so that can be, for one forearm, that can be part of the dynamic in the 5th house. Remember, if that should occur, then that relationship was not part of your ultimate long-range destiny and purpose, or it's run its course. It's done what it needed to do, and now it's time to move on. Okay? Keep that in mind. Listen to my intro. I talk about that a little bit. There might be some unexpected opportunities to show your natural creativity now. You should take those. Being in an art show, a theatre show, a film role or something like that. Opportunities for creativity that just come out of the blue, that surprise you and ultimately lead to your authentic liberation as well. So get into the creativity under this eclipse and you will be channeling the higher manifestation of this energy. You might have some romantic gestures that come your way, or you might be inspired to give romantic gestures to somebody else, Capricorn. You might notice people are wearing their heart more on their sleeve now. You might be wearing your heart more on your sleeve as a result of this. There can be sudden new romantic experiences with maybe an existing partner or a brand new partner that come as a result of this too. And it's really going to shake you out of a rut with dating and romance. So yay, nice. If you're not looking for new love, or that hasn't been part of your quest, it can represent the end of the road with some dynamic with your children. For some Capricorn people, children might be leaving home as a result of this eclipse. Or, you might suddenly notice, hang on, I haven't got a baby in my house anymore. I've actually got a teenager. When did that happen? Suddenly there's a growing up of children, and the dynamic of your role with them actually shifts and changes under this weight of this eclipse. Some people are going to get some lucky breaks because Uranus can bring sudden, unexpected things to the house of blessing that manifest with this eclipse energy. Okay, so that can also happen for some people. And it's my prayer for my beautiful Capricorn friends that that's exactly what they experience. Now, if you would like to hear the very extended interpretation for your sign, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family, where there's a 2 to 3 hour video exploring what this eclipse means in depth for all signs. Head to the the link in the description below. Also, my Capricorn friends, if you would like to study astrology with me in 2023, head to my Guiding Star website, join my mailing list where that way I can get in touch with you and let you know when the sale is on at heavily reduced rates for doing the Royal Stars Academy. Really struggled to get those words out there. I do apologize. All right, if you are a Sagittarius rising, sun or moon person, the energy of this eclipse is affecting your 6th house, my beautiful Saggy friends. This is a difficult house. It's a malefic house in the Vedic system. So there are some challenges here, and it's a very karmic placement because it sits opposite the house of past lives, the 12th house. So this eclipse is going to really shake you out of a rut with difficulties and problems. It's a highly sensitive thing to have an eclipse occurring in the 6th house, because if you've been dealing with debt or poverty or conflict or divorce or imbalance or disadvantage in some way, if you've been dealing with health issues, this eclipse is going to give you a kick in the pants to get out of those situations. There's always a door available to us to leave certain difficulties and move out of those circumstances. We might not see it, we might not, consciously be aware of it, but the universe always provides a way out if only we have the conscious awareness to know. So what's going to happen with this eclipse, Sagittarius, is that the universe is going to say, time to get out of that rut you're in with whatever circumstance I've just described, time to leave that behind, time to go through that door, and here's the door right there. And you'll be like, hang on, how come I didn't see that as an opportunity before? Oh my goodness, now I'm going to take it. Okay, so it's a highly sensitive point, and you will probably also be sensitized to the pain of others under this eclipse. You'll be very sensitive to where people are in positions of disadvantage, lack of opportunity, poverty, illness, and so on. And your compassion can be piped under this eclipse as well for people in those situations. Now, as you leave are shaken out of the rut of these difficult life circumstances, you might find that some confrontation arises. And often that will be as a result of the frustrated level of energy that you're experiencing as you try to shake yourself free from these disadvantaged circumstances in your own life, conflicts and poverty and so on, or money troubles or whatever. So you might need to protect your energy or your vibration now. Have a plan to do so. Forewarned is forearmed. Have some strategies. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk every evening in the sunshine, in the park, just to find my Zen space. Whatever it is, have some things that are energy and vibrational uplift for you now, because you might be find that you're going through a bit of heavy conflict now. Some people, as a result of this eclipse, can have a sudden win over a health issue or a court issue or against a difficult person that you've been battling with, because Uranus brings surprises. Hang on, I didn't see that coming, but look how the energy's changed. Now I've reached the end of the line with that yucky situation, that yucky person, that yucky circumstance in my life. Yay! So that can be really positive. The universe can provide a way out because of this eclipse. So, like I said, there might be the end of the line, the end of the road with a situation of conflict, a situation of disadvantage, a health issue, etc. There could also be a change of circumstance with a family pet or an animal. Okay, that can happen too. Now, it doesn't mean a crisis for a family pet, but yeah, eclipses in the 6th house affect family pets as much as they can affect us personally. So be aware, be forewarned, forearmed about that. Do take care of your precious pets, my friends. Now, if you would like to hear the extended interpretation of this eclipse for your sign, why not join the Patreon family, where there's a 2 to 3 hour video exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. Just head to the link in the description below. And if you would like to study astrology with me, Sagittarius friends, then we've got classes beginning in 2023. Head to my website, Guiding Star Astrology, sign up to my mailing list. That way I can let you know when the classes for 2023 go on sale. You won't want to miss it. Okay, thank you, Saggy. Now, my Scorpio rising, sun or moon friends, the energy of the eclipse is obviously falling on your relationship axis in the 7th house of relationships. So this one can be a bit of a doozy when it comes to relationships. And you know, if you listen to the intro of this video, that this eclipse is all about a relationship dynamic when you're talking about the Saros cycle for this eclipse. So relationships that you might have been working on can see a shift in dynamic that can actually take you more into the positive and get you out of a rut with relationships, shake you out of a difficult circumstance you've been in with relationship. But remember, there's this square to Saturn, so it's going to come with a bit of restriction and heaviness and feeling the weight of doing so. Okay, so be aware of that. Relationships that have been working well can move into something more positive after pushing through some heaviness, some restrictions, some need for more maturity. Relationships that have been strained and have been struggling can break apart under the influence of this eclipse, okay? So be forewarned, forearmed about that. And remember, as I said in the introduction, graciousness and kindness is essential under all eclipse energies. So if you don't break apart from a relationship that's been strained prior to this eclipse, then it's likely some event is going to happen that will have you walking on eggshells from now on with that relationship. Is that relationship really what you want? Is that relationship really authentic? Is that relationship really what you need for your destiny and purpose in this life? That's what this eclipse is asking you. And I'm talking about marriages, yes, but I'm also talking about business partnerships. I'm also talking about client relationships or a dynamic that you might have with your larger audience, perhaps. All other people are represented by the 7th house in astrology. Now, this is a position that can indicate a sudden falling in love with somebody right now, but also sudden falling out of love with somebody right now too, if you're a single person. So suddenly falling in love with someone, suddenly falling out of love, or suddenly changing your identity when it comes to relationship can be a result of this eclipse as well. So if you've always been single, this eclipse can bring about a change in that. Suddenly I'm partnered, no longer single. So for some Scorpio people, I know that will be good news, but it'll come as a shock. It'll come as a surprise, something you won't see coming your way because it's in a conjunction with Uranus. Now, this is also an eclipse where we're seeing the end of the road with a certain circumstance. In the 7th house, it might be the end of the road with a court case or with dealings with some lawyers, with some sort of negotiations that you've been under, or some business deal that you've been processing. So there's definitely the end of the road, the fruition, the culmination of something in that realm available to you as well. Now, Scorpio, if you would like to hear the extended interpretation of this eclipse for all signs, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family, where there's a 2 to 3 hour video exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. And if you would like to study astrology with me in 2023, then head to my website, Guiding Star Astrology, sign up for the email mailing list so that I can let you know when the Royal Stars Academy classes begin, and they're going to go on sale for heavily reduced prices. You don't want to miss it. All right, my Libra rising, sun, or like me, moon people. The eclipse is falling for we Librans in the 8th house. Ooh, 8th house energy. What's this going to bring us? Well, get ready. Hang on to your hat, Libra, because oh my God, this is the house of sudden shocks. And this eclipse is suddenly shocking, getting us out of a rut, changing our life circumstances, like swiveling on a dime, 180-degree turns around, get ready. Our lives are about to change extensively as a result of this eclipse. Also in the 8th house, with an eclipse like this, the moon is very psychic, Uranus is very psychic, the North Node can bring psychic abilities out as well. We can have amazing intuitive downloads happen now. Big goosebump moments, big epiphanies, premonitions, prophetic influences, just a strong inner knowing. And as I mentioned when we were talking about Pisces energy, which has a similar kind of theme running through it for this eclipse, oh my God, I have for the last 2 weeks been more psychic than I've ever been in my life before. I'm picking my jaw up off the floor daily with the psychic insights that I've been having and the premonitions and the prophecies that have just been coming to me. It's unbelievable. So that's a result of this eclipse occurring in my 8th house, as it will be for you too. So you're probably going through these experiences as well. This is a big season, Libra, of change, rebirth, and regeneration. Like I said, our lives are about to change in quite a remarkable way. Really, it's the end of the line for those of us who are Librans with one way of being and the beginning of a new. Because when something ends, something new begins. So Libra, your world's about to change. And inside my heart's just going, yay, pitter patter, flutter flutter, woohoo. Even though it's a heavy duty kind of nasty eclipse, it's going to be transformative for us, and I can't stand the rut that I've been in, so bring it on. So this is a very emotional eclipse though, very up and down eclipse. You probably will find you've been in this state for the duration of eclipse season, and it's really, the roller coaster. This whole eclipse gateway since the solar eclipse, you really will have been riding the ups and downs, the manic energy that corresponds to this eclipse. And I just want to encourage you up until the 22nd of November, keep riding it out as best you can. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, Libra. It's just the nature of this eclipse. So just hang on to your hat. The cycle will pass in terms of the manic emotional nature of this eclipse. Now, if you would like to hear the extended interpretation for your sign, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family? You can do so for a month, for a year, indefinitely, whatever you like. But there's a 2 to 3 hour video there available exploring what this eclipse means for all signs in depth. Head to the description, the link rather in the description below. And also Librans, if you would like to study astrology with me in 2023, then head to the website, sign up for the email that's available there, and then I can notify you when my classes for 2023 are launched and the big heavy discounts that I have planned for joining the Royal Stars Academy classes. You won't want to miss that one. All right, Virgo rising, sun or moon people. Well, the energy of the eclipse for you guys is falling in the 9th house. This is a blessed house in the Vedic system, the house of blessing. So this is can be quite a beneficial eclipse where suddenly you might be shaken out of a rut in some way or a difficult circumstance in life with a drop of blessing from the gods. Things just unfold without too much stress for you, despite the Saturn influence of a square to this eclipse. Because it's a house of blessing, it can actually happen in an easier manner than it might for other people. Okay, but it does represent, this eclipse represents the end of the line with an out-of-date belief system that you've been carrying. Okay, time to broaden your horizons, time to broaden your ethics, time to sort of shift your morals in some way and your understanding in some way as a result of events that happen during this eclipse. A connection to another culture might be ending for you now. Might be wrapping up some sort of, maybe it might be a trade agreement you've been dealing with, or international interactions that might have been occurring. They're kind of coming to a conclusion now, coming to an end. Also, a relationship with a teacher or an inspirational figure might be concluding now in your life also. Not that you don't respect that person anymore, but maybe you don't need that person because maybe you've matured beyond the need for their influence in your life. So there's this culmination energy in that regard also. This is a placement for getting prophetic messages from the gods, and with an eclipse that's occurring in Uranus conjunction with the moon and the North Node, there's a heightened intuition that comes under this influence as well. You might get messages from the gods, from the divine. Trust those hunches, trust those downloads, trust that higher knowledge that comes to you now. It will be for your personal empowerment. You may even have, as a result of this eclipse, a message for people. Not so much like, well, it could be a message from the gods, some sort of prophetic, like, like the old, this is the house of prophecy, like a prophet from the Bible standing up there, not someone walking around with the A-frame on saying, repent, it's the end of the world kind of thing. That is a ninth house thing as well, but I know people who are watching this video are much higher vibrational than that. They're not religious in that manner. So there might be some higher divine message that you are entrusted with from the divine as a result of this eclipse in some way. Now, as we know, this eclipse is a very relational one. I talked about that in the introduction regarding the Saros cycle. So you could suddenly fall in love with somebody from a different culture as a result of this eclipse, okay? That can play out with this manifestation too. So if you would like to hear the extended interpretation for your sign, Virgo, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family, where there's a 2 to 3 hour video exploring what this eclipse means in depth for all signs. And Virgo friends, if you are interested in doing some classes on astrology with me in 2023, then head to my Guiding Star website, sign up for the email list, and that way I can let you know when my classes for 2023 are released, and they're going to be released at heavily discounted prices. Honestly, you're not going to want to miss this. I'll catch you there. All right. My Leo, lovely Leo, rising sun or moon people, the energy of the eclipse is falling for you in an angular house, making it very potent and very strong, especially if you have your ascendant, your sun or your moon at around 16 degrees of Taurus, of Leo. It's going to be powerful for you. This is the parental axis, this eclipse in your 10th house. And so it indicates that there might be some significant changes unfolding as a result of this eclipse in the lives of one or both of your parents, the father or the mother. Potentially, there might be issues or losses relating to your mother-in-law as well with this house placement, okay? So just check in on all those people in your life. Make sure they're doing okay. I've got to say that, I'm a Leo sun person, and I have noticed that in this eclipse gateway period, my parents have been having some issues as a result of, just to let you know, my friends who are Leo, back in December last year, as a result of the eclipses sort of in November, my father became very ill with kidney issues and myeloma and a brain tumor. Let's not go into why that happened for him, but I'm sure you can guess why that all happened for him. Anyhow, I have noticed that in this last couple of weeks, those issues have been exacerbated, and my mother is now dealing with some issues as well. And no surprises to me, as this eclipse is falling on the parental axis of my Leo sun chart, okay? So there could be some issues like that you're dealing with, for positive or negative, okay? And it's because of this eclipse. Potentially also with this eclipse, there might be, because we're looking at the moon in the lunar eclipse, there might be a significant woman or female authority figure that could catapult you potentially unexpectedly, Uranus surprises, into some level of greater worldly success or recognition. This has happened for my Leo rising sun, who has, recently scored himself a job interview at a really much desired position, I must say, because his best friend's mum works at the particular venue, and she put in a good word for him. This is totally eclipse energy, a lunar figure enabling you to have a sudden, unexpected opportunity and rise in a career in the world in some way. So that's happened in the life of my son. I hope that kind of blessing is happening in your life too, Leo. This eclipse can generate also potentially a new position of leadership for some people, but it might also indicate that something needs to end and be let go of in order for that to happen. You might be reaching the end of the line with some way of doing career or obtaining career success, and you're moving into something new. It can, because this is an energy of liberation when it's with Uranus, also help you discover the career of your dreams potentially with this position as well. That's my prayer for all of my beautiful Leo friends. So career opportunities can manifest for some of our Leo friends. But there is also going to be, because it's a very sensitive eclipse, there's this heightened sensitivity to your public image now and your reputation now. Watch out for gossip. Watch out for difficult news about your reputation. I've got to say, I'm a Leo sun, and I have been really sensitized to some of the negative comments that appear in my feed and on YouTube and stuff like that, the criticisms and what have you. I know I have in my chart that my audience will be very critical of me, or some of my audience, not all, some will be very openly critical of me, but it's really stinging now because of this eclipse in the house of our reputation and public image. So be aware of that, can be heightened for you, Leo, my friends. Now, if you would like to hear the extended interpretation of this eclipse for all signs, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family? It's only €5 a month. And you can just join up for 1 month if you like. And there's a 2 to 3 hour video there explaining and exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. You don't want to miss this. Head to the link in the description below. And if you would like to study astrology with me, Leo friends, in 2023, all you got to do is head to the Guiding Star website, join my mailing list, and I will let you know when classes for 2023 are released, and they're going on sale for heavily discounted prices. Just want you to be aware of that. Alrighty, Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon friends. I love you guys. The energy rather of this eclipse is falling in your 11th house here, Taurus. Now, this is going to be an eclipse that shakes you out of a rut with 11th house things. This might mean a very strong changing dynamic with friendships. Some friends might be leaving your life now. You might be saying goodbye to friendships that might have been around for years and years. But don't fret. What this eclipse is designed to do is firstly take you into your destiny and your purpose, but it's also creating energetic space for new friends who are more aligned with your destiny to now come into your life. So don't fret about that. Leave on as good a terms as possible where friendships and connections and networks are ending. Be gracious, be kind, but allow space for things to dissolve out of your life so that the new can come in. You might also be reaching the end of the line with regard to some of the goals that you might have had for your life. The dreams that you had for your life might be concluding now, reaching as far as they're going to go, and you can't take those goals and dreams any further. They've come to a sudden stop. So you might be throwing those goals and dreams out now in order to create new energetic space for a whole new set of aspirations and ambitions based on the intuitive downloads you receive as a result of this eclipse, the inner revelations, the knowledge that you receive now. Now, the 11th house is a house of planning for the future as well, so you are going to probably, as a result of this eclipse, be doing some planning for the long-range future for you too. But it will be as a result of some event that unfolds between the 22nd of October and the 22nd of November in your life. Now, this eclipse could also indicate some sort of change or getting out of a rut or the end of the line in some way with maybe an older sibling, if you have one, because this is the house of the older sibling too. There's going to be a liberation potentially for some people of the influence of their older sibling on them in some way. I feel, my beautiful, beautiful Cancer friends, that you will encounter the right people at the right time, potentially a woman, because that's the nature of the lunar eclipse, but the right person at the right time who will help you move towards new goals, move towards new dreams, and help you generate also more gainfulness in your life potentially. You might meet this person now, or you might already know her, but interactions during this eclipse season have the potential to be surprisingly fruitful for you in that regard. Now, my Cancer friends, if you would like to hear the extended interpretation for your sign of this eclipse energy, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family, where there is a 2 to 3 hour video exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. Also, Cancer, if you would like to study astrology with me in classes in 2023, then all you got to do is head to the Guiding Star website, sign up for the mailing list. I will let you know when those classes are released, and they're being released on sale at heavily reduced prices. You don't want to miss that one. Alrighty, and to conclude our sojourn around the horoscope, thank you for sticking with me. Gemini rising, sun or moon people. This energy of the eclipse is falling for you in the 12th house. Okay, hang on to your hats. This is a biggie. This is a house of endings, and this full moon eclipse heralds a wrapping up and a conclusion. There is something significant, Gemini, that is coming to an end in your life, okay? Be aware of that, and remember what I spoke about in the intro. Move into an ending with kindness and grace as much as you are able to. But hang on to your hat, because this is also a house of psychic downloads. The downloads, the intuition, the dreams you could be getting could absolutely be blowing your mind. In fact, hello, Joe, if you're watching this. We've been talking about this lately, my friend Joe and I. And she's been having like dreams that are just off the planet. Amazing. So very much the nature of this eclipse energy that we're under right now. It's also a highly prophetic energy. So with Uranus here and the moon and the 12th house, oh my God, don't discount anything that comes through right now. You should expect guidance from your guides. You should expect guidance from your dreams and your visions that occur for you right now. If you're at all prophetic by nature, tune in. You're going to get some really serious downloads now. And why not ask about humanity and the direction of humanity and what's happening? Why not ask for all of us, Gemini? Get that information and then share it with us all, please. You guys heavily tuned in right now. So also this eclipse energy represents the end of the line with something from your past. It could be an old habit, an old belief, an old behavior. It could be the end of the line with some old childhood trauma or some psychological wounds. It's a very powerful eclipse for dissolving something out of your life and letting it go, consciously or unconsciously, in order to move more into your destiny and your purpose and your mission here. Now, that said, it can be really rough going, because there is this square to Saturn that represents a tension in the letting go. Okay, the letting go is going to happen whether you want it to or not, but it can come with a bit of angst, and not just a bit. There's this restrictiveness, blockingness, like I'm not letting go, I'm hanging on to this old theme in my life, and the universe says out comes that rug from underneath your feet. Can be difficult. Be prepared. So you might need time to isolate in order to cope with the heightened energy. You might need more sleep, more rest. You might need just space to go for a walk in a quiet, silent, relatively silent park, or by some waterway of some sort. You really should be looking to escape in ways that are healthy. Not the drugs, not the alcohol, but what is mentally restful for you now, what helps you cope. Go down that road, because you will probably need it more than ever under this energy. Now, for some people, this can be an eclipse that brings miraculous healing. The divine touches your life in some way and you're never the same. That said, that tension energy is there. So, you might be drawn into healing old wounds. That's the divine doing so, pulling you into sort of making sure you address those deep psychological complexes that you carry. But it is actually a miraculous healing. Who said miraculous healing had to always be, easy? Maybe it's not. But miraculous healing needs to take place for many Gemini friends, and this is the eclipse to do it for you. Now, if you would like to hear a more extended interpretation for your sign, why not join the Guiding Star Patreon family, my friends, where there's a 2 to 3 hour video available to you exploring what this eclipse means for all signs. Head to the link in the description below if you want to join. And if you would like to study astrology with me in 2023, then you can head to my website, Guiding Star Astrology, sign up for the newsletter, and I can let you know when my classes for 2023 begin, and they're going to be released at heavily discounted prices. You won't want to miss it. So thank you, my friends. What a video. What an intense energy this is. I hope this has been a blessing to you. We'll be back to our normal astro weather reports next week, but do be blessed through this eclipse. Do be forewarned, forearmed. May it change your life and take you into your destiny for the better. I'll catch you next week.